Welcome in, Players Lounge defensive look ahead preview with my guys, David Pollack, Brandon Boykin, Rennie, Curran. If you didn't see the offensive breakdown, myself, Ben Jones, Noshawn Moreno, and Tavares King, we did a little look back to week 1 and then a preview to week 2. The best
What was
side of the
what was the
football,
consensus? What was the consensus of week 1? How was that?
underwhelming was used a few times.
The offense, okay,
Noshawn was not impressed by the running backs. That's the only tease I will give. If you want to get the full breakdown, Pollack, go make sure you check out the YouTube.
If you want the full underwhelming breakdown, go check it out. All right,
underwhelming.
Let's get to the good stuff.
Yeah, let's focus on the side of the football that's won the past couple of national championships. Good day for the Dogs. Wasn't super sexy, but a very efficient. Got a lot of young players that were able to get in there and make some plays, which is always good early on the season when you play a team that is not even close to your talent. So let's go around the horn. Initial reactions, week 1. We'll start with Pollack. What did you think of the game so far?
Well, compared to what we've seen the past couple of years, I agree. I think underwhelming is a good word. I see a lot of youth, man. I see a lot of young kids that are going to have to play, that are going to have to get a lot of reps. That's the worst edge play I've seen in at least a couple years for Georgia. They really struggled defending the edge. I didn't think that was exceptionally difficult. There was a lot of bust, a lot of miscommunication that I think you get worked out. But, bro, you just start going through those guys that are playing on the end early in the game. You got CJ. By the way, they all look the same, which is they all look like mutants. They're all 6'4", 230 to 250 range, and it's you saw freshman Palooza, you saw CJ Madden, you saw Marvin Jones Jr. who looks like very similar to them. Then you saw Jalen Walker on the edge some, but you saw a lot of guys playing a lot of snaps that are really, really young. Darius Smith, a lot of these guys that you can see in the future might have some promise, but right now, man, they got to get the edge figured out, how they're going to play, who's going to rush the quarterback. Mykel Williams, I think, is going to play more and more snaps as it goes along, but I thought it was a decent performance, but it definitely wasn't to the standard that we've seen the past couple of years.
Rennie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Pollack, man. Very underwhelming. As I looked at, the gameplay, man, definitely has some concerns, man, as far as what he said, as far as being on the edge, man. And then, you look at just some of the plays, man, the running plays, especially, we were not dominant up front. We got gashed a couple of times, took some bad angles. I looked at the yards per carry for their starting running back, 7.8 yards per carry. It's not good, especially against the UT Martin. We got to be better up front. Got to be better in the perimeter on the edge, setting the edge, things like that. Like Pollack said, man, we got a lot of young guys that are going to have to step up. We lost a lot of production from guys like Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, and we have to have those leaders step up, man. Nazir Stackhouse, Zion Lowe, these guys have been behind the scenes these last couple of years, and now it's nothing time. It's time for them to step up. It's time for them to make plays, and it's time for them to be those leaders that we're used to seeing these last couple of years that really set the tone, man. So I think that's one of the biggest things. Like it's not looking good to see. I mean, it's great. We got some dogs at safety, at corner, of course, but that's not going to be good if there are leading tacklers every single game. Like we got to set the tone up front, man. That's where it all starts.
All right, Boykin, give me something good. One guy has to say something better than underwhelming, because we are 5 between the offense and now Pollack and Rennie. Yeah. It is the word of the day.
Yeah, I'm gonna just say relax. I think everybody just
relax, my guys.
Now I will say, in my personal opinion, this was about as expected for me, right? Like, yes, I was underwhelmed, but I expected to be underwhelmed. But I've also seen a lot of Georgia and enough football to know that it's the first game, right? And then there was a lot to unpack in terms of it being a 6:00 game at night. Like you had to wait all day to play the first game against a lesser opponent, if we're being honest, than UT Martin. And then we played a whole lot of young dudes, like David said, DP said, and that factors into it as well. Like no matter what, no matter if you're the 2-time back-to-back national champ, this is the new year, this is a new team. Guys still got to get adjusted. And so it was about as expected for me. Do I think we will show a better do I think we'll come out faster next week? Of course. I think there were some highlights, right? Obviously, we talked about this earlier, Aaron. Like, yeah, the edge game was bad, but like that's been the dominant part of Georgia's defense the past 2 years. Like, there's no more Jalen Carter. There's no more these dominant guys up front. So that has to be established. I think the thing that I was excited to see was our secondary, right? Like on our back end, I think we're covered and we're solid. I think between Javon and Malachi and Tyke and all these guys, they can kind of get this group to where they need to be. And so that may just be what the strength will be for this season. And we got to be okay with that just growing. But I think we all need to relax. We'll be all right.
But and I'll go to Pollack because he is he's the resident defensive lineman in this talk. Can you just be good in the secondary against elite competition? And they may not face that till, I think Kentucky's a good team and Ole Miss is a good team and Tennessee. But like when you face the teams that say Alabama that can run the football, can you sacrifice upfront play and just say, well, we have elite play in the back end?
Well, you can sacrifice back end not being elite by elite front end, but I don't think it works the other way. Because if you don't have guys that are going to pressure the quarterback, you will get exposed at some point in the back end. So listen, another 44, Jordan Hall, freshman, 52, Christian Miller, freshman. Both those guys in the defensive line, I saw a little bit of something from them. Brinson, I think, had the best game up front, probably watching him. But listen, you've got the best 1-2 punch at safety in the country with Bullard and Malachi. So that definitely helps. And here's the thing, by the way, Dan Jackson ain't no scrub either. Like, you can bring him in. You got a lot of experience. You can move those other guys around, which helps. But, this defense, listen, we have high expectations for Georgia's defense. That's just the way it is and how great they've been. So I think they'll get better, but they're going to have to get a lot better up front, and they're going to have to play young guys and be okay with screwing it up early in the season because, listen, nobody cares about now. Ain't nobody playing for now. We playing for down the road and playing for playoffs and for a chance to be a champion. So I think you got to kind of understand that, and you got to take some lumps and be okay with it for the time being.
Yep. And Rennie, I guess this plays onto what your position is as a linebacker with. And I'm not going to say it's average play. Like, I'm not going to. I mean, Pollack knows it way better than I do. What's going on the front end? It's one game, and like Brandon said, let's just take a breather here. But how does that affect you? I mean, because it's all a trickle down effect. Like Pollack said, if you can't get after the quarterback, DBs can't cover for 4, 5, 6 seconds. I don't care how good you are. And then second level, I would feel like is even more affected if that front level can't get going. So what does that do to even an experienced linebacker core if we don't see more production up front?
Yeah, I mean, you saw the effects of it as you look at that stat sheet. The linebackers were really ineffective, and it started up front. I think they both had collectively like 3 tackles. So and that's not what you want, man. I was really hoping to see more action for Jamon Dumas Johnson. He's the leader on the team, and we all know you can't be a leader on the team if you're not making plays. And you can't do that if the guys around you aren't doing their job. So, it really, really does start up front, man. And it's going to become more and more of a factor as we do get down the line in playing the Bamas and Ole Misses and, South Carolinas and whatnot. It's going to become more of a factor how dominant we are up front. Especially getting those sacks. Like, in my opinion, this should have been a sack game. We had, I think, 1 sack between Michael. He's the only one who got a sack. I mean, that's not good. I mean, even though it's the first game, we're saying we should all relax, but it's definitely, in my opinion, something that, I know Kirby's getting on them about this week, not getting comfortable, continuing to improve. And we all know it's going to be a competition week in and week out with all these guys. So I don't think any of the starters, besides the secondary, can get comfortable at this point.
Yeah, trust me, offense goes into these games too saying, I'm going to go get my 4 or 5 touchdowns and get on the bench. So, yeah, definitely a stat game for both sides. It didn't seem like anyone really walked away with any kind of great stats to impress. Boykin, the secondary is great, man. 2 guys in 2 new positions. Javon Bullard making his first start at the safety position, then Tyke making his, I guess not his first start, but now moving into that role of being the nickel. What did you see from those 2 that gives you even more confidence of, man, this secondary could maybe be the best one they've had in the past 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, we were excited to see them, before the game, and in general, and we talked about Tyke. Like, this dude was an All-American at West Virginia, so he could play, right? And it just so happened that he got injured, and then competition happens, and situational football. And Javon was playing nickel, but the fact that he's able to play nickel, Javon's able to play safety, the versatility in the secondary, like all of that is on display. You already see that. Obviously, we're talking about Javon and Tyke. I thought Tyke looked great in that flat area of defending the flats. I thought that Kirby always talks about the difference between making a tackle and then kind of like imposing your will on dudes, right? Like there's a difference. And so when I'm looking at these DBs that have played in the big games, because for me, it doesn't necessarily matter if you're a sophomore or like if you played in meaningful games, you played in the playoffs and the national championship, bro, like you should be ready. I'm not trying to hear, anything about being a freshman or sophomore. If you played in meaningful games, you should be ready. And so I want to see them imposing will, but I thought Tyke did great in terms of that. Had a couple tackles for loss. Malachi looked just like he was faster than everybody else, right? Like he's made that jump from first year to second year. Like he feels comfortable, he's confident, no hesitation in his game. And so I'm excited about that. But to kind of talk about what Rennie and DP were saying, like these other teams game plan too, right? Like they have dudes on scholarship too. So let's not forget to take into account that they've got.
I don't know. Does UT Martin have a full scholarship? Do they give? I mean,
I was thinking the same thing. You know what? I got something for you. I got something for you, Boykin. I got something for you, Boykin, because here's the thing. Like I hear y'all talking right now, and I'm doing the same thing. And I mentioned Bullard, I mentioned Starks, I mentioned Jackson, I mentioned Tyke. We ain't mentioned a corner yet. And I don't know what we have at corner. I'm not sold. Y'all talking about
what about Lassiter? I like Kamari.
I like his physicality. I'm questioning all of our corners in the vertical passing game. Like I haven't seen them cover. I'm gonna
err on the side of Boykin for sure on that one.
I don't know.
I still have it. What has shown what? I still have visions of Marvin Harrison Jr. turning him out. Like,
well, that's Marvin Harrison Jr. though.
I get it, but I'm just telling you, I don't think I'm sold on this secondary that it's just an elite unit when it comes to the corner position and locking people up. I think there's talent on this defense. There's guys that you see that look good in their unis, and we can go all the way down to when 29 and 35, Harrison and Wilson Jr. get in the game that are true freshmen. But there's a lot that has to come together. There's a lot that has to grow and a lot that has to morph if this defense is going to be a really good one.
Yeah, I agree. And it will. It will. It happens every year, right? And I mean, we talk just to get on the field, right? The competition Monday through Friday for these boys is crazy. And so maybe that factored into it. They just weren't up for the game, but
I think they're banged up too.
That needs to happen. We know that's going to happen. It has to happen, and they got the athleticism and the length to do that. So,
they're definitely beat up.
I agree with you, DP. Like I'm not speaking on the corners yet because I haven't seen enough to say like this is my guy. Like I trust that when the ball is in the air, he's gonna go get it, and we won't get toasted.
I just wanted to get that on record because I was hearing Aaron talk about this secondary. I like
the secondary. I like Kamari's
well, you can like it.
I love the safeties. I love Tyke. Hey, I will say it's a strength of the defense. It's the strength of the defense, though. So I mean, that's not a good thing. I mean, I trust the secondary more than I do the other two levels right now.
I do too. I think again. I think we got this
syndrome
that like we're thinking that this is like I think we just need to relax. If we're not looking at
show for Georgia fans, listen, like damn, we don't gotta.
Hey, this is called
trouble.
2-time national champions, and the expectations have gone from here to here. No, that's not the problem. That's a dang good problem, by the way.
It's a great problem.
We're a little entitled.
Way high. The expectations are so high.
We're a little entitled. I agree.
The standard's been risen, which is perfectly fine. I get that.
Right.
But when you are at the top of the top, you find any little thing to nitpick.
Imagine winning 48-7, and everybody's like, "I don't know about us this year."
All right.
6-6.
Seriously.
Hey, but at the top, and I will give us a shout out here. this is what I enjoy doing this show with guys like you, and then our offensive show with like Ben, who was nitpicky as hell for the offensive line, and TK was kind of getting after the receivers, and and No Sean was getting after the running backs. Like, it takes guys that have been there and have played and have seen it to really dive into the weeds and be like, man, they look good, but they were doing this wrong and this wrong, this wrong. Like that, I think that's what makes these shows really, really good. So I do appreciate you guys being honest with your assessment, not just saying, oh, they look great because they won 48-7. Like, what it takes to be great, because all you guys were the best, or some of the best I've ever played that position at the University of Georgia. So we will see if they progress heading into week 1, week 2 versus Ball State. Ball State last week lost to Kentucky. The quarterback wasn't too shabby, 15-21, 165, 1 touchdown. Boykin, I'll ask you this question. Is it a concern that it's going to be back-to-back games without playing a Power 5 team? Like, it's like, does that hurt the mentality of the team of not really feeling like they have to get up for a big-time opponent?
I don't think so, not at all. I mean, I think at this point, like we said, you're two-time national champion. So, like, if there's a standard that's already established, like that's the standard, bro. You don't need to face anyone with a number behind their name for you to feel, like ready to play a game, right? Like that's created internally. And so if the performance and what the fans are saying and what the nation is saying about maybe being worried that you aren't as good as you were last year is not enough to motivate you to play at the highest level that you can next week, then I don't know what it's going to take, right? Like, so they will be fine, right? Like, it's going to progress. Starters will probably play a whole lot more next week, and you'll kind of define roles. And, I think we'll have a better observation and be able to evaluate people. Because I honestly can't give you a great evaluation based off last week. I think just
my concern is, I mean, we talk about all the guys that left last year, but this is a team that does return a lot of starters on both sides of the football. Like, there's a lot of guys that played a lot of football at D-line. Obviously, you have your 2 starting linebackers back. You have the majority of the secondary back. Yeah, a couple guys in new positions, but guys have played.
A lot of these dudes are coming off injuries too. We got.
I know, but like, is this now? It's DP. Like, is this? Can it get that much better? Because once again, it's not like the year before where you had a bunch of guys go to the NFL and you did have this brand new defense essentially. Like, I would say 80% of these guys played a ton of football last year.
Yeah.
Is this what we're gonna get, or how much can it get better in your opinion?
Well, teams don't stay the same. I mean, that's and that's the beauty. Here's the beauty, by the way. You've been kicking the crap out of each other all camp. You get tired of beating the crap out of each other. You're ready to hit somebody else. Now you got to do that. Well, here's what happens now. I can promise you. You come into the film this week, all Kirby's going to do is pick apart UT Martin. Look at what you did wrong. Oh, 2-time national champs. Y'all think you're hot. You think you got it covered. I just think that now starts to lay the groundwork for the season. Now you start to see you get to see what you need to fix. Like, a lot of sloppy footwork on the edge that I think can be fixed, that can be worked on. A lot, like I told you about running the football, told you about eye discipline. I told you about things that you needed to do. Now I can show you, all you guys that are getting on the field. And so then you make corrections. So I think listen, between the first and the second game is always the most improvement. It's always the comfort level rises. I'm more interested to see the other side of the ball, to be honest, this next game, and Carson Beck and those guys to see what they look like and what they bring to the table. I think this will be the week that we'll start to make some clear, definitive thought processes of where we stand.
Rennie, do you see any because I know the big word has been complacency. Like, let's not get complacent with all the starters back. Do you think that's legit, or do you think this program's run so well where, like Pollack said, those guys will kind of look back at the film, see what they need to do? Hey, we went against an offense that wasn't us. Now we can really kind of see what we're good and what we're not good at. And we don't have to worry about complacency as much.
No, it's definitely not complacency, man. I think it's more so that connection piece, right? Like, these guys have, played in camp together. They banged each other and things like that. But at the same time, we talk about the in-game play, right? There's that whole trust piece, playing together, being on the same page, being in the moment. being on the same page, that looks completely different. We all know what that looks like. You're in helmets and shorts, going through practice, going through scrimmage, but when it's game time, it's a whole different story. And so I think they have to find their identity in the sense of getting to know each other, getting a feel for each other, especially on offense with so many guys coming in with Tom Muck and leaving, things like that. I mean, it's across the board. Like you can see it, just that the fact that camaraderie and that chemistry has to be built all over again, which is part of every season, man. So I think it's not complacency. I mean, and we all know Kirby's not going to allow that. Like I'm sure, every single day it's that same level of competition. It's that same level of expectation of being elite. So yeah, it's just going to take some time for them to really build that chemistry and start to play together. But the great thing is, like we've all established, we got the talent, man. That's not the question.
Yep.
Got the ability. So we just need to, continue to get those reps and build that connection.
So I've heard offense about 4 or 5 times in this, and this was supposed to all be about defense. Does the change in the offense, I'll let any one of you answer this one, and we can kind of, if people have other thoughts too, does the change in offense, the change of guard at OC, at quarterback, the transfers at receiver, the attention on that side of the football from the media, does that affect the defense at all? Any of y'all can answer this, because I feel like we've brought up offense 5 times and there's a focus on that. Does it affect that side of the football? What's going on offense and all these new changes?
Go ahead, BB.
I don't think so. I mean, I think they're equally getting the same pub, right? Like there's storylines on both sides. I think Georgia wants to continue to establish their dominance as a defensive team. We all know that this isn't a quarterback driven program in terms of what's carrying us to the championship, and so I think that they know this is the identity. I'm sorry, Aaron.
I'll argue that. I'll argue that.
What the identity is.
Say yes and no.
Offensively, they got to create their own narrative as well, and there's a bunch going on there. So again, I just think it was a combination of late game. A bunch of new people, like you don't know what you don't know, right? Like DP said, you've been playing against each other for 35 days, and you finally get to play somebody else. Now you can really evaluate. So I'm glad this happened. This was the best thing that probably could have happened, is that we started lethargic. We didn't beat them 80-6 or something like that. We're coming off a national championship where we beat somebody 65-7, and everybody just thinks that it's just going to roll over to the next year. But like, let's just see how the second week goes so we can evaluate a little bit more. I'm not going to say that I'm disappointed. This is right on par with what I expected. It's a perfect storyline for Kirby to say all type of crazy stuff to him, and they're going to be fine.
Which is why I'm kind of hoping that third week and 2 weeks from now, that South Carolina game gets a little testy, because I think that's more ammunition for him to continue to drive home.
And I will say this:
you ain't last year's team.
DB, Rennie, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. If we were playing Oklahoma or Oregon or something like week 1, I think we would be having a different conversation. I think that you may have saw a different team. And so I'm not saying we played down to our opponent. I'm just simply saying like
they played down a little bit.
I'm not saying they played down the opponent. They played down the opponent. Yeah,
they played down.
We got what we got.
I think there's also a different mentality when you're heading into a game like that, where I know in the back of my head I'm probably going to play 2 quarters. So I'm thinking about that, and I'm just anticipating when the coach is going to pull me out.
Instead What's wrong with you offensive players?
I'm going in for a 4-quarter battle.
Defensive players don't think like that, because you
go in there thinking
every down matters.
There's a plan.
Nah, bro. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing you think about, though. Because when you play defense at Georgia, you're gonna be in the game. Like you're gonna play like Michigan. You're clubbing Michigan in the face a couple years ago. You got Nakobe going sideline to sideline in the 4th quarter when the game's been out of hand. I do think it's a little bit defensively. It's a little different, mentality. Like it's just it's just a little bit different, a little bit more attacking, a little bit more lifestyle. Like y'all are built a little bit different. Y'all are built.
I'm trying to get Hudson Mason some snaps.
Tell him what you're really trying to say, DP.
I'm coming in. I'm throwing my 5 touchdowns. Hudson, go get in there. Go get yours now. That's all I'm thinking of. I'm trying to get in and out, baby. In and out.
I'm trying to get my 5 sacks. So I'll take 3 in the 4th quarter. I don't give a dang.
Hey, you know how the specialists used to kick? You know how the specialists used to kick and then they go in and play like PlayStation?
Yeah.
Y'all are like right under them in terms of just like expectations.
Working on the gal swing.
Yeah, like you know,
It's like I was in downtown Athens. I went out, got what I needed to get, and I'm out of there, baby. I ain't trying to see at 2:00 in the morning if I don't have to.
Oh, we know.
That's when bad things happen, boys. All right, before I let you guys go, I got to get a score prediction. Week 2, the offensive guys were pretty ambitious. They do not think this game will be underwhelming at all heading into the second game. So, Rennie, score prediction from you first.
It's going to be about the same. We're going to score 40 plus on them. They may score a touchdown, but I think it's going to be a lot more the same. But I really believe this game, they're going to be a lot more in sync. The chemistry is going to be a lot better. Beck's going to look like a different quarterback this game. So I feel like it's going to be a dominant performance.
Give me some numbers, damn it.
I'm about to say, just out of curiosity, a score prediction means giving 45, a score, right? Like
45-7. 40 plus, 45-7. All right,
no,
45-7.
40
let's
plus. All right, there you go. 45. There
All
right. 45-7. Boykin.
I think it's gonna be a statement game. You know, I think George is embarrassed. I think we're embarrassed offensively, defensively, because everybody has this standard that we haven't met, and they feel that, but they definitely feel it internally. So I think it's gonna be a goose egg, and offense gonna pull out all time. Bobo about to do the fool on him. He gonna, I hope he does. He gonna bring it out a little bit. So I'm saying it's gonna be 65-0, and then the fans will be happy again.
Hey.
All right, Pollack, you gonna kind of meet in the middle a little bit here?
I got 41-14.
Wow.
I think we'll still give up.
Specific.
I think we'll give up some points. I think we'll give up some yards. I think the biggest thing is always make them kick field goals instead of get touchdowns. And how many times can we do that in the red, which is the most important part. But I do think offensively we found a little something in the second half, and I think Beck settled in. I think having the ultimate chess piece in Brock Bowers makes the game extremely easy for anybody. So I think we'll get that on track, and I'm super curious to watch this defense though.
Yeah, 100%. All right, well, hopefully you won't be hearing underwhelming at all next week when we do our offensive and defensive shows with our lettermen. Appreciate you guys, Rennie, Curran, Brandon Boykin, David Pollack, joining us here at the Players Lounge, and we will check back with you next week. Lots of current player shows. Make sure you go check them out. Support our dogs right now. Warren Brinson and Mekhi Muse had an awesome show where they kind of dive into the story of Mekhi Muse and the excitement of him getting his first touchdown, and then quickly becoming one of my favorite shows, Javon Bullard and Jackson Meeks. Those two have such a great chemistry, really breaking down everything that they thought went down last week in that first game and what they believe needs to be improved heading into the second week. So make sure you go check out both those shows along with the offensive show as well to get your mind right before this game versus Ball State. With that, go Dogs. We'll see you next week.